Welcome to the other, a place where reality feels colder, darker, and for more unsettling than fiction. Tonight we step into the heart of winter, where snow buries the ground, silence stretches for miles, and help feels impossibly far away. These are three disturbing true winter horror stories. Stories told by people who believed the cold was the greatest danger, until they realized something else was out there with them. Something following footprints that should have vanished in the snow, and something that made the endless white feel like a trap, not a refuge. These events really happened. Moments when isolation became overwhelming, when the wind sounded like whispers calling their names, and when the freezing darkness revealed a side of reality few are prepared to face. So turn the lights down, wrap yourself in whatever warmth you can find, and listen closely. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to The Other, because in the coldest places on Earth, the most disturbing stories are still waiting to be told. Winter in Denali doesn't forgive mistakes. It doesn't warn you, it just erases you. I learned that long before January 17, 2008. But that was the day I understood something worse. That sometimes winter doesn't erase people. Sometimes it keeps them. I'd been working winter maintenance for almost 9 years by then. Plowing service roads, checking emergency shelters, clearing wind drifts before they swallowed trail markers. Most people think nothing happens in the park during winter. That's wrong. Things happen. Just quietly. That morning started like any other. Temperature was hovering around minus 22 Fahrenheit. Wind gusts strong enough to rock the truck if you weren't careful. Snow had fallen overnight, light but steady, the kind that hides trouble without burying it. I was driving Service Road C near mile marker 14 when I saw them. Footprints, right across the road. I slowed instinctively, tires crunching over packed snow. Headlights swept across the ground and my stomach tightened. They were human boot prints, clear, fresh, size maybe 10 or 11. A regular tread pattern, not snowshoes, not skis. That alone was unusual. No one should have been out there on foot in that weather. But what really caught my attention was the pattern. They came out of the trees on the left, crossed the road, and disappeared into the trees on the right. No return trail. I stopped the truck and shut off the engine. The silence hit immediately. Thick, absolute. No wind through branches, no animal movement. Just the faint ringing in my ears that comes with extreme cold. Protocol says you report footprints immediately. One set in without one set out means potential missing person, but before calling it in, you're supposed to assess the area. I grabbed my parka tighter and stepped out. The cold hit like a physical force. My breath crystallized instantly. The snow squeaked under my boots. That dry, brittle sound you only get when it's dangerously cold. I crouched to inspect the tracks. They were fresh, edges sharp. No drifting yet. Whoever crossed had done so less than an hour ago. I followed them into the trees. The forest swallowed sound almost immediately. The service road vanished behind me, the truck reduced to a dark shape between branches. The boot prints continued downhill, weaving between spruce trunks, steady and purposeful. No hesitation, no stumbling, no signs of panic. That bothered me. People who get lost in Denali don't walk like that. They stop, they turn, they pace. These prints didn't do any of that, they just kept going. After about 40 yards, the track stopped. Not faded, not covered, just stopped. I stared down at the snow, confused. I stepped closer, scanning the area. No drag marks, no signs of someone falling, no broken branches overhead. It was like the person had stepped forward and vanished mid-stride. That's when I noticed the second set. Bare footprints. Human. No tread. No boot shape. Just skin impressions pressed deep into the snow. My breath caught in my throat. Bare feet don't last 30 seconds in this cold without catastrophic damage. Bare feet don't walk calmly through Denali in January, and yet there they were. The bare prints ran parallel to the boot prints, slightly offset, like someone walking beside the other person. Same pace, same stride length. I followed them together, boots, bare feet, side by side, They led to the same point, and they ended together. I felt a pressure build in my chest, the kind you get right before panic. I turned slowly in a full circle, scanning the trees. Nothing. No animal tracks, no blood, no signs of a struggle, just silent forest and untouched snow. I radioed it in. Dispatch, this is Holloway. I've got unidentified human tracks crossing Service Road C near mile marker 14. One booted individual, one barefoot. Both trails terminate in the forest. No return prints. There was a pause. Barefoot? The dispatcher asked. Yes. Another pause, longer this time. Copy. Mark, return to your vehicle. Search team will be notified. I didn't argue. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on the trees until I reached the road again. I got back in the truck and sat there for a long moment, hands shaking on the steering wheel. I kept expecting to see someone step out of the forest. No one did. Search teams arrived within hours. Dogs, rangers, volunteers. They scoured the area for 2 days, expanded the search radius, checked shelters, trails, even nearby riverbanks. They found nothing. No missing persons were reported, no abandoned vehicles, no gear. Officially, the incident was classified as unexplained tracks, no evidence of human presence. I tried to accept that. Then it snowed again. 2 days later, I was back on the same road, clearing drifts after a heavier storm. Fresh snow blanketed everything, smooth, untouched. Until I reached mile marker 14, there were footprints again. Bare footprints. Only one set this time. They stood in the road, not walking, not crossing, standing. 2 feet planted side by side, toes pointed toward the forest where the other tracks had vanished. They didn't move. No trail leading to them. No trail leaving them. Just 2 impressions pressed deep into the snow, like someone had stood there for a long time. Watching. I didn't get out of the truck. I radioed dispatch immediately. My voice shook despite my effort to stay calm. Tracks are back, same location, bare feet only, stationary. Copy, dispatch said, but their voice was tight now. Mark, return to base. As I turned the truck around, my headlights swept across the tree line. And for just a second, just long enough to ruin me, I thought I saw movement between the trunks. Something tall, pale, still. I floored it. I took leave after that winter, told myself I needed rest, space, perspective. But the truth is simpler. I couldn't stop thinking about the footprints, about how the booted person had walked confidently into the trees, about how something had walked beside them barefoot and deadly cold, about how neither of them ever walked back out. Rangers still report strange tracks out there sometimes. They don't put it in the logs anymore, just quiet mentions over coffee. Nervous jokes that aren't really jokes. Bare feet. No return trail. And every time the snow falls fresh and clean, I think about how winter doesn't erase mistakes. Sometimes it records them. And sometimes it waits for someone else to come walking by. In Lapland, there are rules that don't appear in any handbook. You learn them from older men with quiet voices, from pauses in conversation, from the way radios go silent when certain areas are mentioned. One of those rules is simple. Do not follow the lights. On December 3rd, 1994, I broke that rule. I had been with Border Patrol for 11 years. I knew the terrain, the cold, the isolation. I'd tracked smugglers across frozen rivers, found lost reindeer herders half buried in snow, recovered bodies stiff as carved wood. Winter didn't scare me. It was familiar, honest. That night, winter lied. My shift started at 18 cause, full darkness by then. Temperature around minus 18 Celsius. The kind of cold that sharpens sound and makes your thoughts feel brittle. I was assigned to Sector K-17, a remote stretch of forest near the eastern border. No villages for kilometers. Just trees, snow, and radio towers that blinked red through the dark. At 0117, my radio crackled. Static, then nothing. I tapped it, adjusted the antenna. Normal interference. Nothing unusual. 5 minutes later, I saw the light. It was deep in the forest, off the patrol trail. A soft yellow glow, steady and warm, hovering between the trunks at about chest height. My first thought was lost civilian. Maybe a lantern. Maybe someone with a weak flashlight. My second thought should have been to radio it in and wait. Instead, I stopped my snowmobile and stared. The light didn't move like a person walking. It drifted, smoothly, no bobbing, no shaking, and it didn't illuminate the ground beneath it. That should have been enough. I dismounted and called out, "Border Patrol, is someone there?" No response. The light drifted deeper into the trees. Against every instinct I had earned over a decade, I followed. The snow under my boots was deep but manageable. The forest swallowed sound quickly. My snowmobile vanished behind me, the darkness closing like a door. The light stayed ahead, always the same distance away. I walked for several minutes. No fatigue, no heavy breathing, just the steady crunch of my steps and the soft glow pulling me forward. That's when I realized something else was wrong. The forest felt enclosed. Lapland forests are open. You can see between trunks, read distance by shadow and depth. This forest felt compressed. Trees closer together than they should have been, branches leaning inward, as if listening. I stopped walking. The light stopped drifting. It hovered in place. I reached for my radio. Static exploded from it, loud, violent, sudden. I flinched and nearly dropped it. Then, through the noise, I heard a voice. My voice, distorted, stretched, whispering. "Ilka, don't turn around." Every muscle in my body locked. I hadn't spoken my name. No one else was on this channel. My breath fogged hard in front of me. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. The light flickered once, like a candle reacting to movement. Behind me, snow crunched. One step, then another. Too slow for an animal. Too deliberate. I did exactly what the voice told me not to do. I turned around. There was no one there. But the trees behind me were different now. Closer, thicker, blocking the direction I'd come from. Panic crept in, cold and sharp. I turned back toward the light. It was gone. The forest was suddenly darker than it should have been. Moonlight vanished. Stars swallowed. It felt like being underwater. Then the lights appeared. Not one. Dozens. Warm yellow points blooming between the trees at different heights. Some low to the ground. Some high, near the branches. They didn't move. They watched. My radio came alive again. Not static this time. Voices. Whispering in Finnish. Some I recognized. Old colleagues. Men who had retired. Men who had died. They weren't speaking to me. They were speaking about me. He followed. He stopped. He turned around. I ran. The snow resisted every step. My legs felt heavy, like I was wading through something thicker than air. Branches clawed at my jacket. My breath burned. Behind me, the lights began to move. They flowed. Not chasing. Herding. The forest shifted as I ran. Paths that should have been straight bent subtly, guiding me away from where I needed to go. I stumbled, fell, scraped my hands raw against ice. When I finally broke through the trees, I nearly cried. My snowmobile stood exactly where I'd left it. The lights stopped at the forest edge. I fumbled with the ignition, hands numb, vision tunneling. The engine coughed once, twice. Behind me, the lights crept closer, just beyond the reach of the headlamp. The radio screamed. "Stay!" The engine roared to life. I didn't look back again. I drove until dawn. When I reached the station, my supervisor took one look at my face and told me to sit down. I hadn't realized I was bleeding. My gloves were torn. Frostbite nipped my fingers despite the short exposure. I filed an incident report. Most of it was redacted. The official explanation was hallucination caused by fatigue and cold exposure. I accepted the reassignment without argument. 3 months later, another patrol officer disappeared in Sector K-17, experienced, careful, married with 2 children. His snowmobile was found abandoned, engine cold, radio still on. Witnesses, reindeer herders, reported seeing strange lights moving through the trees that night. Warm, yellow, silent. The report was buried. I stayed on patrol for 6 more years. I never saw the lights again. But sometimes during heavy static, I hear whispers on the radio. And sometimes, when the forest is quiet enough, I see a soft glow between the trees. Always waiting. In Lapland, there are rules that don't appear in any handbook. I broke one. And whatever lives out there knows my name. If you work mountain rescue long enough, you learn what death looks like in winter. Cold makes bodies honest. It stiffens them, locks them into place, preserves every mistake. You can read the final moments in the posture, arms pulled inward, jaw clenched, eyes frozen open. There are rules to it. Patterns. The man we found on February 9th didn't follow any of them. The call came in just after dawn. An avalanche had been reported near a narrow ravine below the northern ridge. A hiker was missing. Solo, late 20s, last seen 2 days earlier heading off trail despite weather warnings. By the time we reached the site, the storm had passed, but the cold hadn't. Minus 16 Celsius. Wind cutting sideways through the trees. The kind of morning where sound carries too far and your breath feels loud, intrusive. We spotted him quickly. He was lying face up at the base of the ravine, half covered in snow, one arm bent awkwardly beneath his body. No visible trauma. No blood. His face was pale but relaxed, almost peaceful. I knelt beside him and reached for his neck out of habit, even though we all knew it was pointless. No pulse. No breath. Time of death at least 12 hours, someone said behind me. I agreed, until I touched his skin. It was warm. Not less cold than expected. Not residual heat trapped by clothing. Warm. I pulled my hand back instinctively, heart thudding. I pressed again, this time against his wrist, then his cheek. Still warm. Something's wrong, I said. The team leader frowned and crouched beside me. He touched the man's neck, then his forearm. His expression changed immediately. That's not possible, he said. In these temperatures, exposed skin freezes within minutes. After 12 hours, the body should have been rigid, joints locked, skin like stone. This man's arm bent easily when we repositioned him. Too easily. No resistance. No cracking sound. That's when I noticed his mouth. It was open just slightly, and from it, a thin plume of steam rose into the air. I froze. Do you see that? I asked. No one answered right away. Then someone crossed himself quietly. Steam doesn't come from dead bodies. Not like that. Not in that cold. We checked again. No heartbeat, no breathing. Pupils fixed. Dead. But warm. We wrapped him in a thermal blanket and prepared the stretcher. Protocol says you evacuate no matter how strange things seem. You don't leave bodies on the mountain. As we lifted him, I felt something shift beneath the blanket. Not gravity. Movement. Did you feel that? Someone asked. Yes, I said. The descent was slow. Snow unstable. Wind rising. Every step felt heavier than it should have. I kept my eyes on the body, unable to stop watching his face. His expression hadn't changed. Halfway down, the stretcher jolted. The man's arm twitched. Not a reflex. Not muscle memory. Intentional. We stopped immediately. That's nerve discharge, the team leader said, too quickly. It happens. But no one moved. Then his fingers curled. One by one. I felt my stomach drop. The blanket shifted again. Subtle, but unmistakable. Like something inside adjusting itself. We need to put him down, I said. As if in response, the man's chest rose. Not breathing. Something else. A slow expansion, as if something inside him was stretching. We dropped the stretcher. The body rolled slightly onto its side. And then we heard it. A sound coming from inside his chest. Not a heartbeat. Not breathing. A wet, shifting sound. Like snow sliding off a roof. Like something moving where it shouldn't. Someone screamed. We ran. I don't remember making the decision. My legs just moved. We tore downhill, slipping, falling, crashing through brush. No one looked back. When we reached the tree line, we stopped, gasping, lungs burning. The stretcher was gone. So was the body. We returned with authorities an hour later. Police, rangers, medical examiners. The ravine was empty. No tracks, no drag marks, no blood. The snow was smooth, untouched, except for a single thing. A wide patch where the snow had melted. Not trampled. Melted. As if something very warm had been lying there. The official report listed the hiker as missing, presumed deceased. The incident was attributed to panic and environmental stress. We were instructed not to discuss it. I tried to move on. I failed. 3 weeks later, another call came in from the same region. Shepherds reported finding strange footprints near their winter shelter. Bare footprints, human-shaped, deep impressions despite the cold. They started near the tree line and ended abruptly in the open snow. No return trail. I didn't volunteer for that search. I still hear the sound sometimes, in my sleep. That shifting internal movement. And I remember how warm he was. Too warm. I've since learned that in some mountain villages, there are old warnings. Not written, not shared with outsiders. They say winter doesn't always kill. Sometimes it changes things. Sometimes the mountain gives something back that looks like a body, but isn't finished using it yet. I stopped mountain rescue the following year. But every February, when the cold settles deep and the snow feels too quiet, I think about that man, about the steam rising from his mouth, and about the warmth we left behind in the ravine, walking away on its own.